Good evening and welcome back to the We Arise show. I'm your host, Brett C. Collins. How you doing out there on this hump day, on this wonderful Wednesday? There's a lot of great stuff that's going on that is happening. We're going to go right to it. We're going to talk about tonight's show. The title, Hormuz Hustle. To hear from Marco Rubio, many different contingencies in the Trump administration, the cabinet. We're hearing that that Trump, the Kingmaker, that's part of the show. MAGA is rolling, baby. Oh, it's rolling. It's rolling in Indiana and Ohio and all these other places. PsyOp storms are barreling in. We'll cover that. I think anybody who saw me last night on Tom's show, that we did cover some of them, but I'll get into in-depth conversation with other shows out there. Let's welcome my co-host, Marshall Smith. What's going on?
Not a whole lot. Friday night, I will not be here. Sunday is my birthday, so we're going to start Friday. I got some stuff going on and all through the weekend, so I wanted to mention that. And I watched the Florida Governor's Forum last night. Only Fishback and another guy was there, but Fishback did a very good job. Very good, well-spoken, funny. He was on point. So let's hope we can.
Well, the problem with that is it's like if you compare what's going on in Ohio, we'll just jump to it.
Yeah,
Ramaswamy, all right, winning 65. I mean, he won by 65 points. He won almost every county in Ohio. That's massive. Okay, now he's going up against Amy Acton, Dr. Lockdown. Remember her in 2019, 20. All right, Governor DeWine gave her a lot of power, and she used that power. So if you are from Ohio and you're in this chat, okay, we're going to discuss that. I'm not a fan of Ramaswamy at all. But, we'll get to the idea of coming down to the path of least resistance. That's what we're facing in Florida. Because if Byron Donalds wins the primary and it's him versus a Democrat, I have no choice but to vote for that guy. That's the problem I face. That's a dilemma that you guys might face in Ohio. But look, the alternative is worse. Democrats are pure evil. They swear allegiance to Satan. None of these people are good. They toe the same line. It's all bullshit, and they'll destroy your state. Just look at California. Look at New York. Look what's going on with Mondami. I think you need to understand that in some way, that you may have to hold your nose. Hold your breath, pinch your nose, because the stench is so bad, and choosing the lesser two evils. That's what we're going to be covering a lot that tonight, and I want to get into it. Hello over on pill.net. What's going on out there? Hello on YouTube. Good evening on Rumble. I want to say hello, everybody out there. Thank you so much, Wood USA, for supporting the platform like you always do. Thank you for the 217 gold pills. What's up, Curious Cat? Thank you for the cookie. Hello, Patty B. How you doing? Let's see. Thea, what's up? Thank you so much for the 1,700 gold pills. Hello, fam. Curtains. Yeah, curtains are opening. Good to see everybody out there. Hello on YouTube. Yeah, James, it was a good show yesterday. A lot of insight about a lot of that stuff that we were talking about. Hello over here, True Terran and Nodog. If you want to help and support the platform, be my guest. Please do so. You know what to do on pill.net. You can also buy me at coffee.com/WeArise or hit the donate to the We Arise show. Everything goes into this platform right here with the Cash App, or you can help out Marshall at Ko-Fi.com/SurfDog74. Let's get into tonight's business. I think really this is what it comes down to, because we're going to talk about the Hormuz hustle, and this is what it is. So they're either going to go along with no longer becoming controlling the protection racket, meaning enforcing the bribery and all this other stuff in this enterprise of what they do, an extortion. So either they accept this, or like President Trump says, either take this deal or we're just going to pound you even harder. I think this deal is over, as Marco Rubio said. Let's listen to Marco Rubio. And let me say something about Marco Rubio. Liberty News Nation put a whole thing out. We'll cover it briefly, but they basically had some really just amazing points about Marco Rubio. And, Marco Rubio has a high ceiling, a low floor in this way. Because if this war goes sideways, and I don't think it is. I think this thing is already done. That's my personal opinion. But if it did, I think that in some way that he would fall harder and faster than J.D. Vance. You see how J.D. Vance has totally separated himself from this. Marco Rubio has been put out there completely to speak about this on blast, and he's doing a magnificent job. I mean, he filled in well for the press secretary who's on maternity leave, and, you know, she's great too. But him coming out there as the Secretary of State and saying the shit that he did was breathtaking. I mean, whether he was, let's just say, looking in the mirror and reading this stuff back to him for years of wanting to say this, rehearsing this, it was good. It was on the fly. And you know what? Whatever you want to make out of it, he said the right things at the right time, at the right moment, with a very hungry and nasty press. Marco Rubio stuns the press pool at the White House by announcing Operation Epic Fury. It's over. I told you it's over. Okay? All this stuff is now transactional. Sign the deal. Take the deal. All right? One way or another, you got to take the deal. You have no choice here. You have no leverage. You have no Navy, no ships, no nothing. You got a bunch of fast boats and some fishing trolleys. That's it. Okay? Give up the nuclear. And I think this whole thing is really about salvaging the nuclear dust, the material, because it's going to connect back to Obama, the Clintons, that regime. And I think that's really what they're doing. And they know that for a fact. So their ability to build a shield behind which they could hide their nuclear program was wiped out. This was an excellent overview. And I think
shield
really
behind which
President Trump really out of probably the four, the Senate, Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense. He's fantastic. I mean, J.D. Vance is just J.D. Vance. I don't hold him in such an esteem, high regard. He's good at what he does. He's very smart, quick on his feet and stuff. You know, being vice president, you have a lot of latitude. Okay, and now what he's doing now as a fraud czar is fantastic. Working with people, so it's good that he has a job that he's doing it, and not just being someone there as the vice president. He's actually doing stuff, and I like his let's just say momentum in doing and uncovering this stuff. This works well with them. Really, this sets up for 2028 fantastically. And I think right now Marco Rubio is ahead of this, way ahead of this right now. And let's see where this goes.
Ability to build a shield behind which they could hide their nuclear program was wiped out. That's a very substantial achievement, and that was the purpose of this operation from day one.
Their nuclear material in order for this war to end.
Well, that's one of the topics that needs to be discussed. I don't know about. I think you're linking it. The operation is over. Epic Fury is the president notified Congress. We're done with that stage of it. Okay, we're now on to this project of freedom.
The press
as far
away.
As the negotiation is concerned,
they didn't know this.
The president's been clear that part of the negotiation process has to be not just the enrichment, but what happens to this material that's buried deep somewhere that they still have access to if they ever wanted to dig it out. That has to be addressed, and that's being addressed in the negotiation. I'm not going to go further on what progress has been made on that topic because I don't want to endanger the negotiations, but suffice it to say that the president and this entire team is aware of the centrality of that question, and that will have to be addressed one way or the other.
So you see people on Mediaite, on Axios, I think it was Hugh Hewitt on his show. Apparently, he was rather perplexed and pissed off about certain things regarding, let's just say, conversations that he had with President Trump. He didn't like the fact that this deal is taking place. I don't know, why or how that he's come to, let's just say, make that in some way. He don't like the idea that we went from never having an enrichment to about a 15-year moratorium. Look, you have to make the deals in place that you can at the moment. I mean, they're under duress in some way. There's no move that they can take other than what? Be hit harder. He's giving them a way out in some way. We don't even know who they're talking to. And this memo, okay, that is coming back, a new 14-point memo that was passed around at night or was sent to them in some way. I mean, look, if they don't have any internet, no satellite uplinks, how are they receiving messages? Who are they talking to? I mean, seriously, if they're that much damaged, how are we passing memos in study hall? How is this working in some way? A lot of this stuff, like I said, doesn't make any sense. All right. And I think that my concern about how I look about Iran or whoever is in control of the proxy Iran, is this just another stall tactic? Is this more blockade games in some way? I don't know. Marshall, your thoughts? Because I'm going to get to other stuff.
Yeah, the press really enjoyed it because he was funny, and they felt like this was a special opportunity because it was. And he did a fantastic job. And Hugh Hewitt, he's really never been a big Trump guy anyway. So
no, he's a right. He's part of the Rhino establishment media press. He's kind of like the Hannity. He's more of an older crowd of that falls
Boomer.
into that. Overlap of the quasi conservative in some way. If it feels good, it smells good. It's along the lines of a conservative Rhino cuck discussion. Then he's all in on. But yeah, he's never been a fan. This is Hugh Hewitt, and he went off. He was like pissed off that this is going to happen in some way. Well, how does it affect you? You know what I'm saying? In some way, you want to make these deals to get it done. And you know what? Doesn't matter if the war is over, the conflict's over, a deal is signed, whatever. We're going to go through the tribes and tribulations of experiencing high gas. Okay? Because Marco Rubio explained it. All right? We're talking about a global market that is affected, and we're all affected by it. And there's nothing we can do about it. All right? It's going to take some time to be reestablished, to put back in order. Maybe the UAE leaving OPEC, pumping out more billions of barrels of oil will help in some way. Maybe getting UN to sanction Iran if they're not really going to follow suit based upon the deal. I mean, you heard Rubio say that in some way, and he goes, we all like the UN. You see that wink and a nod. He was addressing the ideas that UN is feckless. Okay? He was making a joke saying they're useless. We're just going to them and saying, hey, look, maybe if you put some sanctions on there and then we'll release some of their funds, all right, so they can slowly bring back their country into some way, turn back on the internet, stop killing their residents, all right, in some way. I don't know. But it doesn't matter because everything is so off about this Hormuz hustle. Yeah, because I'm going to tell you right now. So the protection racket game is the U.S. Navy now. So we become the new mob, okay? So we took out the old mob, okay, which is, let's just say, bankrolled by the Bank of London and many other Kabbalists, all right, and that's their proxy. Now we took them out, and now what? We're the new protection racket. Until what? They sign off and agree that we're no longer going to what? Hit ships, attack ships, block the Strait of Hormuz, make sure that this is not the only area and resource that is going to be blockaded. As Rubio said, Rubio was talking about a number of things. He's saying this is not the only area that we should be worrisome about. In fact, if we didn't do this, you would see this happen in many other areas where there is a transit of cargo ships of our products and many others that are moving through areas that could be in a similar fashion blockaded, extorted. So we become what? The new pirates on the seas. That's what it's about. And until there's a clear delineation, all right, and a clear understanding by Iran, all right, who might get their funds opened up again, play ball, because this might be your last time. And here we go, Rubio with the jackals in the press. Excellent, excellent. This is a lot of fun. Got to give him credit. A lot of fun.
Right there, in the black.
Now listen to the background.
Right in the black, yes, ma'am.
Where you? No, right there. I know you both are wearing black. She's closer. No, you don't have black. You have blue on. I'm colorblind, but I know blue and black. Right there. Yes, ma'am. No, you. The first one I called on. Thank you. This is chaos, guys. Go ahead.
Welcome to the White House.
You've long been a leading voice on human rights in
Welcome to the White House.
So, including religious persecution and forced organ harvesting. So, President Trump prepares to meet Xi Jinping next week. Do you expect human rights concerns to be on the table?
Well, we always raise those issues, and they remain true. And I think we've proven in some cases it's most effective to raise them in the appropriate setting. But we always raise those issues. They're important to us, among with others, of course. But those issues remain prominent in our view and in our conversation about these things. And we'll continue to raise them in the appropriate forums. All right, let's get to the front. These guys are going to get mad. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Secretary of the Associated Press. You mentioned earlier that some countries have privately and publicly indicated their willingness to help with.
I think in some way, the way he handled it, that there was nobody else there, like Levitt would be pointing out names and stuff. She would know all the names and stuff. That there was somebody not there, that he was just thrown out there, all right, into this pit fire, and so to speak, to answer these questions and to go picking people left and right, off the cuff, not knowing their names and stuff, and going through what he was saying is a completely odd thing to see from the Secretary of State. And I think he was forced out there. He was at front and center at this because I think he, next to Hegseth, is the most, let's just say, logical voice in what? Helping to defeat and end this this conflict once and for all. I don't think J.D. Vance in any way wanted to have any part of this in some way, because I think in some way it might hurt his chances in 2028. And so Trump's throwing the Secretary of State out there and saying, let's see how you rise and shine. Let's see how you go. Okay? Like, remember, his ceiling is high, but if he falls, it's going to be pretty low. So my point is that because he's tied into this in some way. He's with President Trump about this. All right? And so he knows a lot about it. He's speaking a lot about it. Let's hear something else that he said. And we'll get to other commentary and other things. But to me, this was the most interesting, let's just say, comment that he said, that he raised, that was answered to, that was asked by him. He said, when filling in, a press secretary, Marco Rubio, answers a powerful question. What is your hope for America at this time, at a time such as this? This was remarkable.
At the end of the day, with all that you've
I
been
like this
involved
question.
in,
Keep going.
you've been extremely busy,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
as we all know. I got to ask you, what is your hope for America at a time such as this?
My hope for America?
And how
the
do you
same as always
personally
been.
deal with that?
Yeah, look, I mean, my hope for America is what it's always been. I think it's the hope I hope we all share. We want it to continue to be the place where anyone from anywhere can achieve anything, where you're not limited by the circumstances of your birth, by the color of your skin, by your ethnicity, but frankly, it's a place where you are able to overcome challenges and achieve your full potential. I think that should be the goal of every country in the world, frankly. But I think in the U.S., we're not perfect. Our history is not one of perfection, but it's still better than anybody else's history. And ours is a story of perpetual improvement. Each generation has left the next generation of Americans freer, more prosperous, safer, and that is our goal as well. But it is a unique and exceptional country. And as we come upon this 250-year anniversary, I think we have a lot to learn and be proud of in our history. It is one of perpetual and continuous improvement, where each generation has done its part to bring us closer to fulfilling the vision that the founders of this country had upon its founding.
So what's your thoughts? Do you think in some way, Marshall, that this guy was rehearsing this for a while as a senator, planning his envision for a next presidential run? I mean, that just rolled right off his tongue rather quickly and easily. A very good response. I like where he's going. I like what he's thinking. Obviously, as a child of Cuban dissidents that flee, that were born here, that he was born here in some way, you would consider him an anchor baby, though, if you think about it. But since our laws were in favor of any Cuban dissidents coming here, you would get automatic asylum. Whether it's right or wrong, you would consider him in that manner. And so I say to everybody out there, would he really qualify, even though the laws are now changing in some way? Would he qualify to be president? I think obviously he would, unless they had changed the law. But he had a very easy and simple explanation. And I think that was more about addressing his own life and his own experiences and putting that out in such a favorable way that people were easily, let's just say, digesting it. And I found that the room in some way really liked him because he was a senator. He was what we considered a rhino cuck back in the day. And President Trump removed that monkey off his back, that controlling force in some way. And now I don't know who this guy is, Marco Rubio 2.0, but something is different, Marshall.
Well, first I want to say in the beginning, he set the tone right off the bat with the media by saying it was chaotic. They thought it was funny. It was a funny quip, and that set the tone for them. They immediately really liked that, and you felt the calm come down. Now, as far as his responses, I watched the whole thing yesterday, and I tell you, he did not practice this. There's no way, because if you had practiced it, it would have sounded that way, and you would have been stumbling. He did this thing so smooth because he did it right off the top of his head, and it came out great. If he practiced it, you would have told it. Now, I could feel that the way, in my opinion, he did everything just like he was talking to you. You know, you ask him a question, you're just talking to your friend or something. And I thought it was fantastic.
No,
So,
it was pretty good. No, it was pretty good, and it shows a lot of, let's just say, flexibility. And I think Marco Rubio right now has reached his plateau. I mean, you could see he's come full circle from the time that he ran against President Trump to now where he is and where he's on board with in some way. There is a lot of people pushing for him over JD Vance. They don't trust Vance. They don't like Vance because of Vance's stance about certain things. Vance is less of a rhino or less of a war hawk, whereas Marco Rubio is flexing his muscle in this matter when it's necessary. So that's also, you got to consider that in some way. Let's move on. This comes from Mediaite. This was where Jesse Waters reacts to Trump's surprise Iran announcement. Again, the announcement that Marco Rubio laid down yesterday, and here we're seeing all this stuff and all the pushback now. You're starting to see a lot of people flex their muscles and don't like what this 14-point, I guess, restructuring or memo that's out there that will automatically, if they agree to give up the nuclear dust, it'll be a 15-year moratorium on nuclear enrichment. They, even though Trump says they can never have that, but then the reconstituting of their conventional weapons, that's going to be a slow walk in the park. Talking about freeing up money for their country that has to be used for their people, unfreezing the assets. Yeah, I mean, we'll see how this goes. Listen to this. So based on requests of Pakistan and other countries, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and in fact, Project Freedom, this is where he's going.
Fox News alert. The president says, based on the request of Pakistan and other countries, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed. We suspect the president is letting the Iranians save face. The enemy just yesterday said they controlled the strait. That was obviously a lie.
So that's the point. This whole thing is not just necessarily saving face. They're embarrassed. They're ashamed. They failed at every level to push back. As Marco Rubio stated, they didn't have enough conventional weapons to build this wall, to insulate themselves in such a manner to control their nuclear program or their aspirations of growing their nuclear program and ascertaining and acquiring and building some type of ballistic missile or what have you, a dirty bomb, or using something in a short-range manner against its allies and against our bases. Ultimately, we don't know what the damage was in all these different installations where we have bases out there. We don't know the full extent of the injured per se. I get that. They're not going to release that. They're not. We know about how many people died, officially died in some way. But the idea, whoever is talking with President Trump and his team in some way, whoever that is, all right, they're completely, let's just beside themselves. And there might be a multitude of people that are working in concert to fight amongst themselves so a deal can't be signed and so they can continue on this in some way. And what President Trump is doing, he's forcing them into some type of position, all right, to genuflect to the ideas that will dangle a little bit more carrots. But as Hugh Hewitt was saying, he's saying, why would you want to snatch the jaws of defeat, all right, from your victory that you have, obviously, all right, by offering them something substantial so we can move on from this right away. That's the arguments that are being thrown out there in some way. But again, we don't know the intervals and the details that are just laying out there. We know the based answers and based questions that have been let's just say thrown out there, but we don't know really where this is going in any way. All we know is that the actual physical conflict is ended, meaning the wartime operation. So whatever we're dealing with negotiation is a part of their surrender, but how they do it, how they save face, how they look upon this in some way that we give them somewhat, that they're able to come out of this looking and smelling good. There are a lot of people who don't like that, but that's not President Trump. He's not a Democrat or a Republican. He's just a pragmatic utilitarian, okay? He's looking as a functional leader to decide the best course in this some way that it's going to be outside the left and the right prism that people focus on and where they have their political talking points.
And watching the Americans escort ship after ship out of the Gulf and them not being able to do anything about that was going to be humiliating. Not only were they going to lose whatever military prestige they had left in the region, their negotiators weren't going to be able to fight for their position after they lost their last bargaining chip. The commander-in-chief must believe that the Iranians are serious about surrendering if he's going to pause Project Freedom for the sake of a deal. Because you could also continue Project Freedom during the negotiations. You know, you do want to get these foreign ships moving. The president must know what he's doing. And we're about to find out how insane in the brain the regime really is. The choice is theirs.
And I think that's the point. I think what President Trump is trying to decide through making sure that the stranglehold on the Hormuz, okay, to allow for these negotiations to go through, to relent some way, he wants to gauge how they're thinking, what they're thinking in some way. All right, we'll give them a little bit. Let's see how this goes. We're going to move ships in there. All right, but if you do anything stupid, like try to hit our ships, or as we covered yesterday when I was on True Reporting, that we talked about the dolphins. Remember the dolphins with the laser beams and the shark with the laser beams and all that stuff? That was hilarious. But when you really think about it right now, is that what do they have left to bargain with? What do they have control of? All right, they really don't have any control of their fate. All these gunboats and ships, they're being nestled away, wiped away, as we saw in the Caribbean with Venezuela. So ultimately, what is left in order for them to feel like they have a hand in this surrender, so to speak? Or maybe we shouldn't use the term surrender. Maybe we should use some other vernacular to describe what this is. But a defeat is a defeat. All right. The question is, how far are you willing to go to look yourself in the mirror and say, all right, yeah, I lost, but how bad do you really want to lose? I think that's the ultimate question. Do you want to walk away to live, to fight another day? Is that what they're thinking? Is that what President Trump is giving them, is offering them? All right. Or is he basically saying, look, if you want to do that, you can take that road, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to continue on. You're not going to be allowed to do this, this, and this. And whether we go to the UN, get sanctions on them, or do all this other stuff, or we just continue to squeeze them, pop them like the zit they are, there is no other choice. All right. We see I think it was the Gerald Ford, Marshall, that was going back to through the Strait of Gibraltar. It's heading back to the United States probably, or out to Asia in some way. You have to consider that we're probably going to draw down some of our fleet, not all of it in some way, at least our big carriers and stuff. But what Marco Rubio said was, I think, telling. When was the last time you heard anything about their airspace that's moving through of Iranian planes in some way? They have no control of their airspace whatsoever. And I thought that was a very telling point.
Well, yeah, and I thought it was very interesting that Monday night we talked about this whole thing, and that I mentioned that I think we're turning the corner. We both kind of agreed on that, and all of a sudden here we are. Yeah. So, I mean, are they watching our show? I don't think so, but it'd be nice if they did. But I think that is following through with what we talked about Monday night, and that Trump does not want this thing to drag into vacation time when your gas is $5 a gallon. That's like a bad deal.
Well, so that's why we're the new protection racket in town. We're the new mafioso in town. That's why we're moving ships.
We're going to keep you safe.
We're making sure that these ships can pass. And Iran, if they're smart, knows not to do anything stupid. And any gunboats will be just eviscerated right away. So again, there's certain things that are subtle that are taking place, but ultimately, what we're seeing right now is how President Trump is negotiating with them. He wants to see how far they're willing, all right, to give up and relent. All right, that's the key word. All right, because for them, surrender is obliteration, because that's how apocalyptic, all right, these people are. So you don't want to go that way, and you don't want to kill 90 million people. We don't even know how many people are in Tehran still that haven't moved out or they're in lockdown, or how many people, I mean, we're talking, we don't know how many people were killed overall. I saw estimates and numbers in some way, whether it was collateral damage or part of their IRGC or just in total what they've had. We're talking thousands upon thousands. But again, we're not really sure anything about Iran now. We're just not. And so we're basing upon everything that we're getting that the administration is telling us. But there's many people that just don't want to listen to what the administration's because they don't believe it. They'd rather listen to the propaganda from Al Jazeera or any other Iranian, news outlets. And again, I ask, if the internet is off, how are they getting this information out there, the subterfuge? How are they getting all this propaganda out and agitprop? I mean, who's putting this out? Who's controlling these airwaves to put this out, all right, for them? All right? That is something that you need to consider. So according to Axios, 2 countries are close to agreeing on a 1-page memorandum of understanding to end the war. And again, I ask, how are they communicating? What bat phone are they using? What satellite uplink? I mean, obviously, they have communications where they're able to talk. But President Trump has been very, very quiet about how they're communicating and who they're communicating with or through. So the agreement can be reached within 48 hours. Reports the United States and Iran are close to reaching this. The U.S. expects Iranian responses on several key points in the next 48 hours. Nothing has been agreed to, but sources said that this was the closest the parties have been to an agreement since the war began. That's why President Trump has allowed certain things to, let's just say, bubble to the surface. Among other provisions, the deal would involve Iran committing a moratorium on nuclear enrichment, the U.S. agreeing to lift its sanctions and release billions in frozen Iranian funds. Now, that was slighted because Mediaite and Hugh Hewitt were reporting in some way that it wasn't a moratorium. It was a 15-year moratorium. It wasn't like, no, you can't have nuclear enrichment. So this is another discussion. Question is, why do they need nuclear enrichment? Is this just to save face in some way? Are they doing this, to protect themselves from Israel, or to what? Make sure that they're the bigger bully on the block. Either way, they can't have nuclear weapons because, again, none of the other parties, in that region have nuclear weapons, so you don't need it. All right? Only Israel does, and I guarantee you right now, we're not going to get them to surrender that. All right, so here we go. Many of the terms laid out in the memo would be contingent on a final agreement being reached, leaving the possibility of renewed war or an extended limbo in which was a hot war and has stopped, but nothing is truly resolved. The White House believes the Iranian leadership is divided and it may be hard to forge consensus. That's why he's been a little bit accommodating, because you have many different people with many different opinions trying to step in and control the narrative to see who wants to step up and play, I want to be the next dead leader. I don't think they want that. So we don't know how this is actually playing out. We don't even know if somebody else is speaking for the proxy, rudderless and leaderless nation. U.S. officials have expressed optimism about a deal, several points during the previous rounds of negotiation and during the current war, but have yet to reach one. But the 2 U.S. officials said President Trump's decision to back off his newly announced operation in the Strait and avoid a collapse of the fragile ceasefire was based on progress and talks. So whatever was happening in Pakistan was working out well. That's how they're actually communicating, at least in some way, somehow. Marshall, your thoughts as we move on to the next subject matter.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing's wrapped up by Friday, or by maybe Monday.
You sure about
that? Sounds
that?
like. Well, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. That's what I said. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying that it wouldn't surprise me because they're talking about 48-hour whatever window.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Trump is in the spot where he wants it done as quick as he wants it done.
Well, Iran is testing him. Tensions in the Gulf. U.S. jet strikes an Iranian oil tanker. An American fighter jet targeted an Iranian oil tanker in the Gulf of Oman to enforce U.S. blockade on Iran. This escalation comes amid the ceasefire discussions between the U.S. and Iran, with the pressure mounting from President Trump for a resolution. So basically, they hit this tanker. I'll give you the key takeaways. Let me blow this up a little bit more so even I can see it. Jesus. I mean, can they make this in more tiny print? I mean, an American fighter jet struck the rudder of an Iranian oil tanker, escalating tensions in the region. The incident complicates an ongoing negotiation between the U.S., which are currently under ceasefire. President Trump indicated potential military action if the diplomatic ethics in Tehran do not progress. The Iranian tanker ignored multiple warnings about breaching the U.S.-imposed blockade, highlighting the fragile balance between the diplomacy and military readiness. So basically showing them, if you don't follow what we're doing here, and if you want to play blockade games, as I said earlier, and you want to play, you want to just use this as another stall tactic, well, then we'll just start taking out the tankers. We'll start seizing them. We'll start arresting these people, and that's what ultimately is going to happen. But we allowed more ships in. We helped make sure that there are multiple ships that move through. I think they said anywhere from 10 to 12 ships moved through the strait today, and we'll see how many more are going to continue on. And remember, the more ships that pass through, the more and more this oil glut or all these other areas reach its port of destination, and then it changes. And now oil dropped to 89. It was 129. It dropped to 89. That's massive. But again, gas went up like what? They said it went up another 10 cents. So when you consider that in some way, it's not President Trump's fault, okay? It's how the global markets are. It's how they make these future hedging, all right? And that's how they bet the short and long terms of these things. So really, it's about how the market will be impacted. And if we don't help to make sure that the market is not impacted and the strait remains open, then the prices will eventually come down. But it's going to take some time. Doesn't happen overnight. And I think that's what people need to be patient for. And I see everybody jumping ship. There's people on X just freaking out that we're never Trumpers, that we're never MAGA in some way. We can't afford all this stuff. So who can? Okay? But you're the only one bitching. We all know it's expensive. We understand it. We get it. But you want to go out there bitching in some way and show who you are in some way. This is not what I voted for. It is what it is. What do you want to do? This is the only guy that can fix it. And like Rubio said, either we do it today or and now, or in the future, it's going to be even worse. So settle it now. Let's get it done, and let's move the fuck on. And that's the bottom line. And I'm sick of all these people out there. And I'm glad they're getting fucking smacked in the head with a big fucking giant bag of dicks, because these people are out of control. All right, your rhetoric, you're attacking. You've continued this this nonsense of allowing this type of discussion to go on, which divides people. Instead of having a more serious conversation about where this is going, how this is going, you want to blow all the discussions up. Then you want to use rhetoric that ramps up the hatred and the violence for all the sickos out there that continue on wanting to threaten and kill the administration, President Trump, MAGA people, any one of us. It's never going to stop. That's the problem. It only stops when you stop acting like a fucking nut job and freaking out. We're all going to lose and we're all going to die. See, it's that type of panic. All right? Like from Airplane 1 and Airplane 2 when they're out of coffee and they're all beating the shit out of each other. That's what I'm talking about. It's lunacy.
Do they think that Kamala would have done any better? I doubt it. Nothing would have been done. It would just still be sitting there.
Well, what do you think would happen if Rotten Box was in there? She would have started a war with Russia or North Korea or even Iran. I don't know. Probably not. But the point being is that we would be in a full-blown battle right now with many countries. And we would be feeling the heat and the pain. Here we go.
Marco Rubio out of there.
Marco Rubio hits back and claims of the U.S. oil blockade on Cuba. See, I think Marco Rubio is next position a job. And if we do actually take over Cuba in some way, you're going to need an emissary there. You're going to need an ambassador. You're going to need a governor. We don't know what's going to happen. And the only person I see doing that job is Marco Rubio. Right now, I mean, honestly. So here's what's happening with Cuba. Okay, Cuba used to get free oil from Venezuela. No shit. Listen to what he says here. This is great. Another interesting point.
There's no oil blockade on Cuba per se. Here's what's happening with Cuba. Okay, Cuba used to get free oil from Venezuela. Used to give them a bunch of free oil. They would take like 60% of that oil and resell it for cash. It wouldn't even go to benefit the people. So the only blockade that's happened is the Venezuelans have decided we're not giving you free oil anymore. And you can only imagine nowadays the way oil prices are, no one's giving away free oil, much less to a failed regime. So the problem with Cuba is worse, okay? Their economic model doesn't work. And the people who are in charge can't fix it. And the reason that I can't fix it is not just because they're communists. That's bad enough. Incompetent communists. On Cuba.
They're incompetent communists. How about that? I thought that was an interesting thing to say, is that not only that you're using communism, which doesn't work, it's stupid and idiotic. It's not a based economic system that will help the great many people. In fact, what it does is it crush a great many people and escalate a small amount of people, okay, to a higher, greater authority and wealth, while everybody else suffers. That's what it is. It's serfdom. That's the bottom line. But he said the incompetence of it, they can't even do that right. They're crooked and corrupt, but you know what? They're bozos. They even fucked that up. I mean, how long was Russia communist? For a very long time. How long did the Cold War go on? At least they knew how to do it for a period of time. How about China? But Cuba, no. You can't even fucking do that right. And it shows you the greed, the theft, the carelessness. They don't care in some way. And yes, Marco Rubio is correct. Secretary Rubio is making the point, is that it's another failed Venezuelan state. And like every other state that Venezuela will come back, many other states, when they walk away from this communist dictatorship, authoritarianism, whatever, the incompetence, okay, the buffoonery of their incompetence regarding communism, because they can't even implement that. And if you can't implement that, then you definitely can't implement what we're going to do to fix this. That's the point. That's where Mandami, okay, is going. Mandami and New York are headed to that trajectory. Now, they're not going to have any money. Where's he going to get this money? He can't do this stuff without Albany. All right? They're the legislatures. I don't know how much he's going to be able to get done. And I wouldn't be surprised they recall him in a year or two. Yeah, I'm serious. All those 84% Karens, okay? All those broads, young chicks that wanted to vote for him. Yeah, I want free stuff. Free grocery stores, free healthcare, free everything. Yeah, someone else will pay for it, right? Yeah. Not going to happen. Sorry. And now what we promised you is never come to fruition. So now you're doubly screwed. All right? Because now you're going to pay higher taxes everywhere else, because that's the only thing you can do. Maybe locally. We'll see what happens. But he is an example of what Cuba is today. And anybody rolling with that, the rhetoric in some way. Bernie Sanders' window died out a long time ago. Okay? Because if you just look at the failed states, that's what he's representational of, okay? He is Venezuela. He is Cuba. Meanwhile, he's got what? Fucking 6 houses, all right? He's the quintessential communist that works for him, not for you, not for everybody else. All right, moving on.
And that's why I said that this might be wrapped up in Iran in a few days, because look at Venezuela. I know they're two different things, but overnight, poof. And now that we got flights going over there from here.
No, I couldn't agree more. And I know that eventually things will start to pick up rather quickly. I'm going to just drop this in the chat. I want everybody to read this. This is not part of my discussion tonight, but this was an interesting read. And I'm dropping it in the chat. And I suggest, I love Liberty Nation News. I read it all the time. I also read Alt Market. I probably have about 300 periodicals I read on a daily basis. I'm not shitting you. I read a lot. So the point being is that this article is really good. It takes into consideration what Rubio was representational of yesterday and how he got his qualifying points out, how he spoke to the media, how he handled it, how they were in some way, let's just say, persuaded by his answers, and they weren't really questioning him too much. The back and forth was really interesting, but I'll just read you this. If you've been paying attention to the news since Donald Trump returned to the Oval Office, and particularly these days, you have noticed that one top administration official not named Trump has enjoyed repeated maximum public exposure. And I'll just say that in some way because, remember, it was he who ran against Donald Trump in 2017, in 16, and 17. And Trump beat Cruz and him. All right? Both are Cuban descent. And you have to consider that in some way, and that has meaning. It is no secret that Secretary Marco Rubio has been a central figure in executing Trump's maximum pressure campaign and military operations. To a lesser degree in some way, because whatever elements of Rhino that still resides around him is slowly wiping away. Maybe. We'll see. The president's confidence in his former rival appears to be almost limitless. And after Rubio's masterful performance in a press conference at the White House discussing the war with Iran on Tuesday, it is easy to see why. Go read the rest of it. I have to tell you right now, I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I think you'll have a different perspective of how he's being viewed in the administration and what his, let's just say, obligations and responsibilities and why they're growing and why he has a very large, let's just say, plate that he's, let's just say disseminating from the trough with. So he's got a hand in a lot of different things. And I have to tell you right now, that is no coincidence. That is not an accident at all. And I think there's a lesson there. There's an understanding there. There's a rationale there. Read that article, Marshall.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he ended up in Cuba, like you said earlier. In some fact, I wouldn't put it past him to become
limited capacity.
He could be running for president there one day.
Honestly, I'm not shitting you. I was thinking the same thing. It's quite plausible to suggest that he can have a temporary time there of overseeing what's going to happen in Cuba. I think so too. Thank you, Trump One, for the cookie. I got a good stuff on Ohio. And if you're in from Ohio, we're going to talk about Ramaswamy right now. Trump the Kingmaker. MAGA is rolling on. So it's full of Rhino collapse. Some of the Rhino Indiana State senators ousted by Trump. I think it was 5, almost 6 out of 7 served in the state legislature. Their incumbents are gone. Watch this.
State senators who defied him and helped defeat his redistricting effort there last year. Let's get right to CNN's Jeff Zeleny for the latest on what you are hearing and where things stand right now.
Well, John, President Trump has been seeking revenge, and tonight he is getting it. He has had a successful effort in at least 3 of the Indiana State Senate primary races, and one of the Trump challengers has failed. So right now, the scorecard that the White House is watching very carefully is 3-1, and the Trump-backed candidates is leading in the other 2. What are we talking about here? Why are we talking about the Indiana State Senate? Because the senators, the Republicans who have served for nearly 20 years, each one of them who lost, voted against the president's redistricting plan last December. They said that they did not believe it was appropriate to redraw those maps. The White House has said, we are going to throw you out of office, and that is what is happening this evening. It was a dramatic campaign.
And I'll say this, that I think also the Supreme Court ruling of Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act was also, I think, the final death kill, so to speak, or the death shot. Because once that was, and then all these incumbents who basically thumbed their nose, these rhino cucks, all right, that President Trump put his hand on all these people that ousted them. I think it was 5 to 6 out of 7, all right, these people. I think in some way, it was basically showing you that, look, you are no match for us, all right? The people have spoken. You should have redistricted when you had the opportunity. You chose not to. Now the Supreme Court says you might be forced to. We see McMaster in South Carolina walking that back, saying, we're going to have to do this. George is like, I don't think we're going to need to do it. No, I think what it is now, a 9-0 decision. When they came out on this in favor of House supporting this, now moving forward with the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, they are basically saying right now, you're going to have to do it. And Harmeet Dillon will make sure every state will be following suit on this in some way. Let's continue.
Millions of dollars spent. And the White House is winning this revenge war, if you will, tonight. Only one non-Trump backed challenger, Senator Greg Good, is holding on. His race was a bit peculiar. He was running against 2 people named Wilson, but he is holding on. So for the White House tonight, one bit of good news in this challenging midterm election year.
Marshall, your thoughts as we move on.
Well, they deserve what they got, and I think that's very impressive. Mm-hmm. And I think this also sets up the midterms coming up, mm-hmm. because it's gonna create a psyche in the other states where I think it will be beneficial towards our people in the midterms.
Right.
This is just another feather in Trump's cap, let's say.
So Andrew Bronca show, may this be the high watermark of cultural Indians in positions of political leadership in America. America should be led by cultural Americans. These may be of Indian descent or British or German or Italian or African, but culturally they must be American. That is the only way the values of America can be protected, through expression, enforcement, and defense of American values. I agree with this. Vivek won every single county in Ohio. His primary challenger didn't win a single county. That's massive. That's massive in some way. Only one thing that can save Western culture, you know what it is, and you know Vivek will never do it. Look, I'm going to say this about how I feel about Ramaswamy. I'm not a big fan of him at all. But again, we're going to get back to the idea and what I'm talking about. Here's the NPR discussion. This is what he's facing. He's facing, and for all you Ohio people out there, I feel for your pain. I do. I'm not a big fan of him in some way, but I'll say this, though. I know you have to hold your nose, hold your breath, pinch your nose, because it's going to get stinky. It's going to get really smelly. It is. This is the least harmful option, probably. Is this the best of bad batches that are out there when he goes against Dr. Lockdown? This is Dr. Amy Acton. In 2019, DeWine gave her a lot of powers. She abused them royally during the COVID lockdown. She was extremely harsh and extremely cold. So don't memory hold this. Don't forget this, all right? Don't have short-term memory loser syndrome because of COVID. This broad, okay, had a direct impact on your state, and she hurt a great many people. K through 12, many people in hardships with businesses and a lot of different things. Also, you have to understand is look at her background. She was homeless a good part of her time. She was raised in poverty. Okay, she pulled herself up. She was emancipated at 16. Somehow she rose to some level going and taking herself to medical school, and somehow found herself on some director of Women's Board of Health in Ohio. Whatever. She's a Democrat. Remember what that is. Yeah, DeWine is corrupt too. He's a rhino cock. So think about him and the powers that he granted that he left to her. So let me just say this right now, and I will be clear about this. I'm not a guy of Swampy at all, because his God is not your God, and I'll be clear about that. His God is not your God. All right. He's not a Christian. He aligns himself with Christian conservatism. He's a non-dualist. He believes in that Advaita. He's more of a Hindu type of religious person, but I think in some way you have to measure out where we are right now. Because if you elect Dr. Acton and you remember what she did at COVID, think about all the things that they're going to roll back on in Ohio. Raise your taxes, that's going to be number one, automatically. All right? They're going to do everything they can to raise your taxes, raise small business tax. They're going to go across the board to raise your taxes right away. Do you want that? No. So keep that in mind. There's a whole thing. I would say compare her to, and she's kind of going to be analogous to Spamberger. She's not a CIA plant, but she's going to be along the lines of what Spamberger was in Virginia. And I want you to understand that. So he took an aggressive but traditional route to secure the nomination on President Trump's inauguration day. Ramaswamy announced he was leaving the president's newly created Department of Government Efficiency that evening. And he threw support behind Ramaswamy, which was called a complete and total endorsement. And remember, he was a stand-in for the debates when President Trump was debating, and they used him. So Tuesday, Ramaswamy won with a comfortable margin over Casey Putsch, a Northwest Ohio car designer and a racing team owner to politics who attacked Ramaswamy for his South Asian heritage. I don't know what to say to you guys out there in Ohio. I think you have the least path of resistance here. There's no shortcut. You have to avoid difficulty in choosing, and I think the only path may be him, whether you like it or not. And you never know. He might turn out to be pretty decent. That's as far as I'll say. That's as far as I'll go with that. because the alternative, just like we're facing in Florida, I'm not a Byron Donalds fan whatsoever. And I'm kind of iffy on Jay Collins or Fishback. But I'll have to tell you right now, if Byron Donalds is the nominee and he beats out all these guys in the primary, I'm not voting for a Democrat. I'll have to fucking hold my breath or I'll pencil in my own fucking name. But this is where we are. We may not like what we have, the illusion of choices, but here we are. Marshall, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, if they, obviously if they go ahead and do that, hold their nose, plug their nose, whatever, and vote for Swami, which is the only choice they really have.
They
got 4 years to find somebody better.
Yeah.
Find somebody that's American. This guy's talking about being a colonialist.
Winning every county in Ohio in a primary, that's massive. I don't know what he's going to do.
Well,
I don't know what he's going to do against this Democrat, but I don't know the demographics or the politics in Ohio. But if you're from Ohio, what alternative do you have? Especially if you don't want a Democrat as your governor. And they haven't had one, I think, in like 30-something years. I believe it's 30-something years they haven't had a Democrat governor. Might have been a little bit longer.
I just don't trust them, but they're stuck with him now.
Yeah.
So they could suffer 4 years. And like you said, he could do good. But, I really don't see him. If he does good and they do it again, he's on his way to the next step. And you know what that is? We don't need that. This guy is not as the article you mentioned earlier, Brett, we want right before this, we want cultural Americans. He is not a cultural American. He's not that.
No.
He puts himself out there to be. Look, he's not this. He's talking about, he's preaching to us about what it's like to be a pioneer, to be the people on the Mayflower. He wasn't any of that, but he tries to speak like that. That is bullshit. That's called pandering. I don't know, but good luck, Ohio. I mean, take the 4 years and find somebody better,
Yeah, and you better hope he wins, because if he doesn't win, there's going to be a lot of blowback. Thank you, Thea, for the cookie. Thank you, Trump One, for the cookie. Curious Cat, thank you. Like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill, comments, questions, and concerns. Support the platform in any way you can. Let's move on. I mean, you got to think about it this way. You better hope that he doesn't outsource his cabinet with H-1Bs. I mean, in some way, you better make sure of that. I'm being facetious, but seriously, you gotta keep an eye about all this stuff. So the FBI raids Virginia senator's office in a corruption probe. State Senator Luis Lucas of Portsmouth addresses the Senate floor on March 9, 2020, Virginia State Capitol in Richmond. The FBI raided her office of Virginia Senate pro tempore Luis Lucas, a Democrat, as part of the corruption investigation. She's the top official in the state, and she's helped push to redefine the map to remove 4 Republicans from the districting. Breaking Fox News and One scene, Portsmouth, Virginia, where FBI raiding the office of Virginia Senate pro tempore Luis Lucas, a Democrat and close ally of Spamberger. That's not good. FBI agents are searching a nearby cannabis dispensary. She owns 10. And then they're all caught up with bribery, extortion, and also utilizing unproven products, selling products that were not verified, all right, out of the dispensary. There's a lot of other corruption that's in there. Here we are. A federal judge approved multiple search warrants for the raid. So she's got 10 of these things. A lot of people were arrested. Lucas, 82, first assumed office in the Senate of 1992, became the Senate president pro tempore. This is not her first legal dust-up. In 2020, Lucas attended a protest against Confederate monuments in Portsmouth, Virginia, where she told officers they could not arrest protesters who were planning to deface a Confederate monument. After she left, protesters pulled the monument down, which injured 1 person. Following the August, Portsmouth Police Department charged Lucas with conspiracy to commit a felony, injury to a monument causing more than $1,000 in damage. Virginia House Speaker Don Scott, Democrat, issued a statement Wednesday, published in several outlets, that attacked Trump and his administration. Oh, it's all their fault. Let's start with the Senator Luis Lucas, who's not been charged with anything. I'm deeply concerned. No, she hasn't been charged or arrested yet, but given the politicization in the administration, the FBI led by Kash Patel and Justice Department run by President Trump, they say this is a personal hit job, this is an attack. Well, several people are arrested. Let me get to it. Several people were arrested. These are dispensaries she owns. All right. So you have considerable amount of what they're saying is their possibility of racketeering. There's also utilizing products, all right, that have not been tested by the FDA or are allowed to go through to sell. So where were they getting these products from to sell unauthorized usage of this cannabis? That's number one. Number two, there's also things going on behind the scenes regarding laundering money and other things. So here we are right now. This comes from Governor Eagleman. He puts this up. The FBI raids hit Virginia in multiple arrests made. I'll just put this up there. The FBI is on a roll draining Virginia Democrat corruption machine. Remember, this is the woman who pushed the redistricting that Spamberger signed, and it failed miserably.
This is all connected to an influential Democrat in the Commonwealth of Virginia, State Senator Louise Lucas. They are at her office executing warrants as a part of a major corruption probe. So I want to go back now to Alex Hogan, who's there. Alex.
Hi, Harris. So you can still see that the FBI are behind me. We've been seeing them throughout the morning, bringing boxes in and out. They also told staff members they needed to leave the building. We heard some of those employees coming out saying that they were told they had to leave and they were not allowed back inside. I do want to give you some context of where we are. The FBI not only arriving here at this location, but also at the dispensary, the cannabis dispensary just across the parking lot. And this is a look at what it looked like earlier today with the FBI agents arriving, SWAT teams getting out of their vehicles with weapons, telling people inside that cannabis dispensary to put their hands up and to come outside. At least 3 people were taken into custody. Federal law enforcement say that they're carrying out these court-authorized criminal search warrants at more than 10 locations across the state. Again, this is the State Senator Louise Lucas's office behind me, but we're also learning that she is connected to this dispensary here. Senator Lucas is president pro tem, meaning she's one of the highest and most powerful figures in the entire state legislature. And when she arrived here, I asked her about being here as the FBI raided these locations. Take a listen.
Is there anything that we can say about what they're doing?
I don't know what's going on. I just came from another boulevard, so I'm just gonna wait until they tell me.
So again, dozens of members of the FBI arriving here and being here throughout the last hour, taking boxes of.
It's going to be interesting. Now, people will say this is retaliation because of the districting. Well, no, the Supreme Court has already ruled on it, so it doesn't matter. And since the circuit court has already outlined that they can't go forward with this has nothing to do with this. Did you know this investigation was going on under the Biden regime? Under Director Ray's, let's just say,
purview. Or whatever.
Well, I'd say purview. Let's just say put it in some way that he was overseeing this in such a manner, but nothing was done. And it wasn't until Kash Patel stepped up to the plate and moved forward with this in some way. They must have got something that was actionable to do this in some way. All right, let's move on with Kash Patel. I got a bunch of stuff with this, and I'm just going to roll this through rather quickly. FBI Director Kash Patel. He says that he won't deny Hillary Clinton server rumor on Sean Hannity. Okay? He says, I keep hearing rumors that they may have a copy of what was on Hillary Clinton's classified servers. We're working on a lot of things, he says, with a huge file. I'm not going to play it. Patel did not say the FBI possesses a copy of Clinton server content. He did not say it. He doesn't. He answered a pointed yes or no question with the kind of language federal officials deploy. The broader interview published on YouTube under the title Kash Patel Uncovers Secret FBI Documents, the de-weaponization plan covered a wide range of ground. Patel described the fundamental shift in the FBI operations under his leadership, touching on a secret room in the Bureau, which I'm going to cover right now. And I think in some way there was a lot of pushback about that. A lot of people didn't believe that in some way. They were, let's just say, attacking him. I think Thomas and I got into an argument about that in some way because, look, you have to consider in some way, did Director Wray leave these burn bags in an area where they can be, let's just say, discovered, uncovered, revealed, and not actually toss them into the incinerator to be burned? So there's no paper trail at all. Someone left these out. FBI secret anti-Trump burn bags rooms were missing from building blueprints. FBI Kash Patel has revealed that agents uncovered a previously unknown burn bag room in the FBI headquarters containing sensitive documents. However, Patel was now revealed that the secret room was not even listed on official building maps. Patel made the disclosure during an appearance on Hangout with Sean Hannity. Patel explained that multiple burn bags used to destroy classified materials were discovered inside the concealed room. They weren't burned, but the room was also off the map. That is interesting. It wasn't on our blueprint, and nobody had access to it. Listen to this.
All right, programming note, a new episode of my new podcast, hanging out with me, Sean Hannity, Patel, Comey's indictment, great warning.
It was, when we walked in the door, I said, hey, this conspiracy continued. It didn't end because the documents we released under the House Intel days showed that there were individuals who are continuing the work of the Steele dossier. And I said, these documents, computer hard drives have to exist somewhere. And this is the part that's frustrating to me too. People are saying, rightfully so, where's the accountability? Where are the arrests? We are undoing 30 years of weaponization. We are doing that while delivering record results on crime reduction in America. And we got to get it right. So we found that room that Dan Bongino talked about. The
burn bags.
room.
Explain a burn bag.
It's basically a large paper bag that you use to destroy and literally shred and burn classified information. So we not only found burn bags in a room that was locked away in FBI headquarters.
And they weren't burned.
They weren't burned, but the room was also off the map. It wasn't on our blueprint. And nobody had access to it. So
how did you find it?
Well, that's what we do. That's what I do. I know that these people put it in places for us to never find.
How does he know that? Someone told him where to look. Okay? That's what he's intimating. Because he was asked about Christopher Wray. And a lot of Christopher Wray commentary by Dan Bongino and this guy have basically poo-pooed it away. So was he a gray hat in all this? Was he operating to just save all the evidence so the incoming team would find this and point the way? Absolutely. I couldn't believe it. But I'm shocked that I'm saying it. It's most plausible, let's just say, reality that we're seeing right now. This is what we do. He knew exactly where they were because he was told where they were. I'm just going to end that thing.
That's amazing. That, and there's no way that they just searched around because that's a huge building. I mean, There's no way. I mean, you could have
that building is being condemned, right?
That was probably part of it too. You never know, but yeah, somebody gave him a tip. I don't know that it was directly Ray, but somebody there, and because they don't want to be wrapped up in this, these people anybody that would have tipped him off, more than likely was part of it, and doesn't want to get wrapped up in it. So, I think it's amazing.
Nacian says, I think Ray's been leaving clues. Yeah, I think so too. I agree with that 100%. Absolutely. I mean, I don't discount it one bit. And I think a lot of the stuff that they were able to do and find at the FBI was because of the breadcrumbs that were left from Director Wray. But he's not going to tell you that. They're not going to tell you that at all. No way at all. So here we are.
Protecting another kid or another community.
So,
and I can tell the American public
4 deadly terrorist attacks.
Just look at the month of December alone last year. We stopped 4 terrorist attacks in 4 weeks during the holidays. 4.
Slow down a second. Most Americans don't know that.
Yeah, everything from the pumpkin tape plot all the way through the attacks that were going to happen in Texas, Florida, and New York. And we stopped them all. This FBI.
When you say terror attack, you mean a real attack, a terrorist organization stopped it.
Full stop.
That's got to give you a lot of personal job satisfaction and then scare the hell out of you about what else may be out there.
It's a two-edged sword, right? Thank God that this FBI is on mission doing it. And, we put it out as much as we can because the work of this FBI should be known to the American public and it should be advertised, their wins, the sleepless nights that the agents, the intel analysts, and professional staff put in, time away from their families. We are the folks that are responsible for safeguarding America. So what keeps me up at night is we're doing everything we can to not miss anything.
So you have to be perfect every time.
Yeah, well, that's
they only have to get through one.
So they stopped 4 terrorist attacks. No one heard about it. I mean, you didn't hear about it. You didn't hear anything like to the level of like they were some serious attacks. Curious Cat says the closet next to the director's office per Patel. Interesting. So there's a closet next to the office, and you don't bother to look at it. You don't bother to look into what's in here. What's in here? I don't know. My curiosity would be like opening doors left and right. And I'm not implying it's just as simple as that, or they didn't have access to, or it was a special key that you needed to get in there in some way. But I think it's a lot simpler than we think. He's just making it out that, well, it wasn't on a map. We had to look it on the map to see the blueprints of this building to find places that were, let's just say, hidden. All right. And a lot of people didn't know that these areas in the building were off limits, that you didn't have access to, that nobody there that was career FBI was pointing you in the right direction in some way. He didn't say that. He just went to the right areas and found these burn bags with documented evidence in there, automatically just hidden away, concealed, and so easily to find. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that at all. That points to me that someone there was making sure that the access and the viability to find these were a lot simpler than we're led to believe. Let me continue on. This comes from The Blaze. I think we got some time here. We got plenty of time. Okay. This comes from The Blaze. Again, a contractor from the FAA. This was a good one. I've been reading some Blaze articles lately. They've been getting better. The FAA contractor charged for allegedly threatening to kill you, Donald John Trump. The suspect remains in federal custody after his initial court appearance. Federal Aviation Administration mechanical engineering contractor finds himself at risk of significant jail time over an email. This guy sends an email. What a fucking idiot. How do you be that smart and stupid simultaneously? An email he allegedly sent the White House, according to the press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office, District of New Hampshire. A 35-year-old man, Dan De La Che of Nashua, was arrested on Monday and appeared in court on Tuesday in charge of interstate communication of a threat against the president. If convicted, the FAA contractor faces 5 years in federal prison and a $250,000 fine. An affidavit in support of the charge filed by the Secret Service agent details the alleged actions of Del Shari. According to the affidavit, that the Nashua man first came to notice of the Secret Service near the end of January after the FAA IT department contacted the USSS Secret Service. The contact was made after the suspect allegedly took his government-issued computer. So you use your government-issued computer to the IT department and ask for a search history to be deleted while working on the suspect. See, a person like that, you should go to jail. Because not only you're stupid, first of all, you're an engineer and you're an FAA contractor, but you're that bold and stupid to use your own computer, work computer. I mean, honestly, I'm surprised you didn't find child porn on there. But my God, you're basically using your computer to send death threats to the president of the United States, and you're shocked. I'm shocked there's gambling going on, that the Secret Service would find out and then come knocking. I mean, it's almost it's almost a joke. I mean, and this is the pure, I think, TDS moments that when you see is because there is that separation where people actually lose their mind. There's their body and mind and their soul. They're completely lost and separated. They have an out-of-body experience, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and something just takes over, and they slip like this on their soap, which will be slipping on their soap quite a bit in jail for the next 5 years, but as he should. And I don't understand why these people continue to make these death threats. It only goes back to what? Comes back to bite you left and right. You lose money, you lose your job, you lose your you get charged with a felony. Is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? I mean, honestly. Hell, I didn't like Obama or fucking, or what do you call it? I didn't fucking send death threats. Or Bush. Senior Sinai, a response to a backlash over nurses file post after the latest assassination attempt. Another fucking wingnut. Even worse, far too many of those making such objectionable comments are employed as caretakers, such as educators and nurses. A lot of nurses and educators, teachers, make these stupid comments all the time. Matthew Schaefer was identified as a nurse practitioner on the website. A Senior Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles reportedly responded to a social media post April 25th, the Correspondents' Dinner shooting in which the user, Jason Kozler, wrote, "Someone missed again. Who is hiring these people?" And Schaefer responded, "Up your game, people." Okay. I mean, the spokesman for Cedars-Sinai told Fox News Digital in a statement that the social media postings of an individual staff members do not reflect the views and positions of Cedars-Sinai. Schaefer's LinkedIn page lists them as working full-time practitioner. It's disturbing that a nurse on your staff, Matthew Schaefer, continues to be employed after advocating for the assassination of our president. The fact is he identifies himself as an employee at your hospital should be grounds of firing. Look, I'm all for free speech. He didn't say, he just said up your game. We know what it means. Is it as vile and disgusting as Jimmy Kimmel? Well, a lot of people saying that's free speech. It wasn't like the FAA contractor who's actually making direct threats. He just made a comment in some way. I'll let you be the judge of that in some way. Should Cedars-Sinai talk to him? Should he be suspended? Should he lose his job over it? Obviously, you know what he feels in some way. And you're a nurse making that comment. Stay off the social media platforms. Just don't comment. Don't say anything. Keep your fucking thoughts to yourself in this world. All right? You want to lose your job? You want people to look at you in some way? I'm sure there's going to be some blowback from the hospital, but I don't know if this guy's going to get fired. I don't know if it warrants that for him to get fired. He might get suspended, maybe for like a day or two, but I doubt that he's going to get anything of anything what we see with the FAA contractor, Marshall.
Yeah, these threats are just nonstop. I mean, how the hell do you deal with this? There's so many people out there everywhere that are doing that. I mean, I really think that the COVID vaccine has something to do with the mental instability of so many people in this country. Now, I could be wrong, but I think there's some connection there.
Right.
It's insane, Brett. I mean, they get hooked on CNN, and the black lady on there against the white guy, what's his name, and Scott Jennings, and they just lose their shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, Brett.
It is, and it's out of control. And I don't think people will learn. They will continue on with this, hatred and vitriol and malevolent attitudes towards the president, and and some will go unscathed, and some will be punished. I mean, the more and more the rhetoric heats up, the more and more the crazies still come out. I still think people still have lessons to go. Again, 20% of this population is lost, as far as I'm concerned. Speaking of this, here comes MJ Truth out there. FBI Director Kash Patel confirms the first wave of UFO files have been delivered for imminent release. Here it is. This is what he says here.
Saturday. Okay. Then I got to get to the question of either it's true, these people that I've interviewed, these documentaries that I've watched, I'm more and more convinced. Have you watched Age of Disclosure?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, you're busy. You have a full-time job. I'm more and more convinced that probably, and my faith tells me, we have universes within universes. There's no limit to God's imagination. So the idea that there would be life on other planets that may be visited here would not at all shock or surprise me. Have you ever looked into it?
We're looking at it. Here's the thing. Again,
okay, I want all the details.
Here's the thing. Every other president before President Trump could have said, hey, let's look at that and get the American people the information. What did he do? He stood up an interagency process with Department of War leading that effort to get out the documentation related to everything that you're talking about, not just from the FBI, from the IC and everywhere else. And so what do? We already delivered our first tranche of information to that committee, and they're going to be publicly releasing this information very soon. We are all for it. There's nothing in this subject that we're talking about that we don't want released. Our job at the FBI is to work with the White House and DOW, give them the information, and then they're going to put that out in a methodical process. And you're going to start seeing those releases literally happening in the very near future.
Okay, it's what I said yesterday, and I'm going to say this again. I think that there's a fine way to walk this out and discuss this and have legitimate qualitative and quantitative discussions. By the way, Age of Disclosure, I watched it. It sucked. Don't waste your money. It's garbage. But do watch the Prime one with the scientist. What's his name? From 1989 with the Nap story. What's his name? He's got the glasses. Anyway.
Oh, the Asian guy?
No.
Yeah,
no.
I have no idea.
He's been on Joe Rogan quite a bit recently. I forget his name. You guys know it in chat. Go watch his new movie. All right. It's pretty good. I forget his
What's
name.
it called? What's the movie
It's his
called?
last name. I forget his name, but he's on the Joe Rogan show, and I watched it.
And it's about aliens.
Bingo. Yep. Go watch it. It's out on Prime. It's fantastic.
It's about aliens, right?
Yeah. It's about his. Yeah. Go watch it.
I'll find
I'm
it,
not going
'cause
to
I
tell.
got
I'm not going to give it away. It's very good. I was very impressed with it, and I do like Bob Lazar because he's not profiting off this stuff. I mean, he's not. The people are making money. He still has his own business. He's still very mundane and all this other stuff. So
that's who it is, Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar. Yeah,
That's-
and you
okay.
could go see. It's on Prime. The new
I'm
one.
going to find it.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. If aliens can reduce gas and food prices, I would be interested. That's a good one. It's a good one.
You never know, man. You never know.
All right, so these PsyOps, well, that's the whole point because we're going to get it. The PsyOps are rolling in. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk. Oh, excuse me. Let me get out of this. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of other things that are popping up that I want to get into right now that I think needs to be addressed because a lot of people, should be talking about it. All right, let me skip that. Let's see if I can put this up there. Okay, here it is after what he put up there. And I'll show you this. I hope this is one thing we don't go through. I really don't. It's time. Another binder gate. I saw, what's his name? What's the guy? Man, I'm just losing my mind. Oh, Hanley. What does he go by? What's his handle? Oh, Hanley.
DC Drano.
DC Drano says, if someone hands me a binder, I'm just dropping it and walking away. That's probably the smart thing to do, buddy. FBI Director Kash Patel confirms UF files have been delivered for release. And DC Drano is like, I don't want to have anything to do with this. I think this is an excellent
That's him right
move.
there.
Yeah, I think
That's him right out front.
Yeah, that's the point. I want you to be clear about
He's
this.
a liar too.
Yeah,
he won't do. There's no way he's dropping that in the trash. No way. He's gonna go to the bathroom and read the hell out of that thing.
Well, we'll see. But here it is on Slay News. I got another one from People's Voice. The U.S. intelligence officials warn of religious leaders to prepare for a UFO file release. Religious leaders were reportedly warned that the coming revelations could shake foundations of biblical faith. I don't know how it's going to shake biblical faith. My biblical faith is going to remain the same, okay? I'm going to become unfazed by this because I don't believe they're going to put out stuff that is going to change my mind, okay? That is going to alter my perception or my illusion or my reality of understanding this. You have to consider this, all right? When they're saying it could shatter your religious beliefs, what does that mean? What, your organized religious beliefs? And so they're preparing priests, rabbis, or all these other contingent group pastors of all these different churches and stuff to what? Toe the line in a narrative to shape up your congregations out there in some way so they can become what? Familiar with the verbiage of inter and intra-dimensional. Okay? So we could break that down and what that means. Specialized terminology. These are things that I think it's going to go way over people's heads. And I don't think we're going to have a base of information to discuss. Evangelist Pastor Perry Stone says a small group of high-profile pastors was recently briefed by individuals. What individuals briefed you? From the U.S. intelligence. Okay, officials warned religious leaders that long classified information, including alleged evidence of extraterrestrial craft and beings, will soon be released to the public. Is that why Marco Rubio is going to the Vatican? Okay, not to smooth relations, to get them prepared to get out in front of this, or are they already prepared? Because, the CIA, the Vatican, extensions of the State Department, all working with the Vatican in general. So are they there in some preparation to help push this disclosure out there, to get on board, to have the same messaging? According to Stone, the message delivered behind closed doors was stark and warned that the coming disclosures could cause widespread confusion. Well, we're already confused. I can tell you right now. I think for some people, they're going to have a hard time. But let me just say this. YouGov put out a whole thing last year, research poll. 56% of Americans believe aliens definitely or probably exists. 18% definitely and 38% probable. Highs higher than the cryptids, bigger than Bigfoot or Yeti. 47% believe aliens have definitely or probably visited Earth at some point. This is up 36% since 2012. Okay, that's fine. You're going to have people who are going to say, if there are galaxies and there are allegedly other creatures in galaxies, then the whole creation story is a myth. And you're going to have people that's going to go on and apostatize and turn from Christian faith because they have no answer for what they're about to see. Stone warned. So you're basically saying you're going to walk away from your Christian beliefs. You're going to say it's all full of shit, all right? And you're going to become an atheist now? Or what are you going to do? A non-denominationist? What are you going to do? You're going to worship aliens now? Is that where we're leading to? Is that where we're getting? He said pastors were told to brace for a surge of fear and uncertainty among the public. Now that I'm not shocked by. Because what you don't know of the unknowns and what are told in the dark and what goes bump in the night is exactly the fear and uncertainty that we're about to face. And again, I hearken back how this is going to be prioritized. You're going to need to have maximum discussions all over the place. It cannot just be dropping these things in websites like we haven't been, like the JFK and all these other fucking files. You learn nothing from them. And if all this is just a redux of stuff that is just recycled through, that's already been, let's just say, that we're blacked out, that we're familiar with, that's going to be unblacked, so you can read this in some way for people, the normies, NPCs. The rest of us, we get it. They're going to freak out. They're going to come to pastors, ministers, teachers and say, what is this? Is this really real? I'm not going to no local priest, okay, down the road, okay, at St. Mary's to say, hey, look, what's this going on? How does this fit into my my reality in some way? That's not going to be the person I'm going to, by the way. All right, I'm going to tell you that right now. But anyway, I digress. So here we go. I'm not going to read this. I think Tom played this yesterday. I just was kind of like annoyed because I think people are missing the whole prerogative here about this. The warnings coming after President Trump directed the Pentagon and Secretary Pete Hegseth to declassify government information on UFOs. Trump has said that the first releases are coming very soon and will contain very interesting material. Pastors described a secret meeting and a propaganda plan. Here's the PsyOps, ladies and gentlemen. Ding, ding, ding. Other pastors say they were present during this stuff. Oh, where'd it go? There it goes. It says other pastors were present. Where did it go? Okay. Described the gathering as roughly 6 Christian leaders discussing the meeting. Also went forward to discuss the propaganda plan that was in place leading up to the disclosure. Evangelist and podcast attorney Marco echoed those concerns, suggesting the effort is not just about transparency, but narrative control. Absolutely. And I think that's the whole point of this. This is just another PsyOp that is going to be, in some way, to be forced down your throat. The question is, will this be bigger than Epstein in some way? Probably. I imagine it will be bigger than Epstein. People are like, well, how does Epstein fit into this? It doesn't. This is going to be a standalone discussion, and I think people are going to have a hard time of understanding what this means. Are they here? Where did they come from? Explaining inter, which is between and among, and intra, which is within and inside dimensions to people, that's going to go over people's heads. I think invisible aliens, forget about talking about that one. You're not going to be able to prose that. Just talk about all this other stuff. Are you going to talk about abductions? Are you going to talk about how long this has been going on? Why did they cover this up? Who's involved? How many of these reverse engineered crafts that were found that you reversed? And are they using oil, diesel, gas? You think that's going to come out? No, it's proprietary. Can't talk about it. If you don't get a hint of any sense of these things, and it's just going to be based information you can watch on a fucking movie or a discussion, which you'll probably get more information than this, I'm going to tell you it's a total psyop, and it has you convinced. The only thing that will change is that the first time a president and a government, meaning the government, the United States government, is going to acknowledge the existence. And that alone will change everything thereafter. And that's the only thing that you probably should take from Marshall.
Well, and, if we're going to go out there, you say you wouldn't go to your local priest. Well, neither would I. And now he's going to, Rubio, I guess, is going to the Vatican or whatever. Obviously, these people are not part of us. They're not part of us. So that being said, is he really saying that we're pulling your mask off? They live here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they live. Remember the movie?
Yeah.
So what if he's saying, okay, let's just say it. You're going to be exposed. We're going to show you that you people, you beings are here among us already, Pope or whatever. Now, I'm not saying that's true, but if we're going to go out on a limb, I may as well throw that out there. I don't think that this is about some thing from some outer space or some shit like that. If whatever it is, it's more like the creeps that live among us. The Satanists could be that. Who the hell knows? You know?
This Steven Spielberg is releasing his film Disclosure Day, which comes out May 5th, I think it comes out coincidentally, is making the same revelations. Okay? It's coming out this month. So, I mean, obviously you could start to see the PsyOp.
Yeah.
So the idea is that, look, you have the movies putting this out. You have all this stuff that's going to be declassified in some way. And basically, it's just going to be a base understandings that we're not alone. Do they walk among us? Who are they? What do they want? What do they believe in? Are we in contact with them? Is anybody? I mean, things like that. But the idea, when you start to get into really deep conversations and stuff in some way, are there underground bases that are working with these creatures in some way? Are we employing them in some way? I mean, when you start to get into stuff that's proprietary, which is classified, that the government cannot release because they don't have control of that. It's not copyrighted and patent for them. They're not going to tell you that flying ships that they have are using a different source of energy. They can't tell you that. And you know what? If they do put that out there, all right, this whole Iran thing ends tomorrow. I'm going to tell you that right now. Because if Trump comes out, well, maybe we should see that stuff. Why don't you put it out here? Why don't you show us one of these propulsion systems that don't use oil, gas, and diesel? You know, no petrol, that are traversing the skies all over the place. Watch the economy collapse overnight. Not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So again, baby steps. I get it. This is a big time in the sense that the only benefit is just releasing this and how the administration will walk us through this in some way. They can't just dump this out, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and then that's it, like JFK, MLK, and that. If they do that, no one's going to buy it. And then it's just going to be a complete waste of time. In April 27th, the video posted on YouTube channel, evangelists claim that pastors were told the existence of reptilian creatures, UFOs, and materials from non-human origin, and other things that almost sound something out of a sci-fi movie. Really? On February 19, President Trump ordered the Pentagon Secretary Pete Hegseth to release all the information. Trump said that the files would be released very, very soon. However, officials in this secret meeting allegedly said the information is on its way, will cause some Christians to question how the universe was created and even lose faith in their religion. Now, you should lose faith in the fact of that your religion in general is bunk. Remember during COVID, how did your religious faith help you during that time? Remember they closed all the churches. And remember, some of these pastors were telling you, take the jab, it's good for you. You want to move on with your life? You want to come to church? No, just take the jab. All that other crap. You're not going to lose faith, okay, in God and Christianity per se. But you might walk away from the religious, let's just say, zealots that control Catholicism, congregations like that. Let's just say, how it impedes your relationship with God. You remove that in some way. I think some people might. I don't know. Maybe people will run to religion even more. I'm not really sure. I don't really care. It's not going to affect me. But, I mean, look, I mean, there are people who can't handle anything. They can't even handle President Trump being in office. How are they going to handle this? They're going to freak out. They're going to come to pastors, ministers, and teachers. I doubt that highly. I doubt that highly. And how are the pastors, teachers are going to answer? You know what they're going to say is, Orange Man bad. Don't listen to him. He's making all this stuff up. That's what they're going to do. They're going to spin this and say this is all fake. It's not real. I wouldn't be surprised they go the complete polar opposite to push back against the administration and say they're making this up. They're covering for Epstein. That's how upside down the world is going to turn when this comes out. I'm all for it. I'm all for transparency. Let it all flow out. When I mean all of it, I mean all of it. But again, you can't tell everybody all of it because apparently it'll just give heart attacks and seizures and all this stuff. Really? I think there are things that are far worse right now. How about when they're discussing in Congress that there are alien babies being created through hybridization? How about that? I mean, we don't even know the half of it that's going on, but you're just going to give us a certain percentage to wet our whistle in some way. So we could be like, it feels good. At least we got some form of transparency. The question is, how much of you going to take and run with this? Is this going to persuade you in any way? This was just going to show you that the president is willing to go as far as he can to tell you as much as he can that he's allowed that he can. And believe it or not, that he's allowed. Because there are just other stuff they're not going to tell you. They're just not. And you know what? That's what you should take away from it.
It feels like it's really, this feels like it's a test of people's faith, the strength of their faith. How strong is your faith in God, Jesus, everything? How strong is it? Are you going to stay with it, or are you going to be out there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it feels almost like that, Brett.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't it?
Shit.
I mean, yeah, it's a test. I mean, I don't know how people can look at this and say, well, that's it. I'm walking away from Christ. I can't deal with that.
I can't see that.
I mean, I just can't imagine it. I mean, walking away from a church or a congregation or some type of institution, I could see that all the time. But to say, my Christianity is going to be impacted by this, I can't do this anymore. It's not. Yeah, don't be deceived. That's the point of this, that we're going to be utilizing this in some facet, okay, to run this as a PsyOp. Here's more PsyOps that are coming in. The Hunter virus. And it was featured in the 1997 classic X-Files. The X-Files is great. Have you seen the show Fringe that was in the 2000s? Go watch that show for 5 seasons. That was magnificent. And here we are. One of the best scenes in the movie. Now, let me play this.
Got the truth. Now that end of the world apocalyptic garbage, you right?
You know my work? I was right about Dallas, wasn't I?
How are you right?
Are you familiar with the antivirus, Agent Mulder?
Yeah, it was a deadly virus spread by...
How interesting. You got the alien disclosure coming on. You got a movie that's coming out about alien disclosure. You have something that was featured in 1997-98 in the X-Files movie. And they talk about the Hunter virus. And what's in the news? The Hunter virus. This cannot be a coincidence. Do you see a pattern? Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not saying correlate what this is going to be broken down. But do you see the narratives that are thrown out there in some way? Make the connection. Alien disclosure, Hunter virus, what they're talking about here. Now, it's two separate things of what we're seeing in our reality, but the idea that they're using this as a distraction, another PsyOp to get you what? Removed from the discussion that what? We're going to have another pandemic right before they drop this. That's what they're trying to do, but you're too smart. You can see right through that because the COVID affected you in such ways that you don't believe anything anymore. You don't trust doctors. You don't trust teachers. You don't trust anything. And that's the point. All right. And you should be a good critical thinker by being as cynical as you possibly can. Let's continue.
Field mice in the southwestern United States several years ago.
According to the newspaper, FEMA was called out to manage an outbreak of the hantavirus. Are you familiar with what the Federal Emergency Management Agency's real power is? FEMA allows the White House to suspend constitutional government upon declaration of a national emergency. Think about that. What is an agency with such broad sweeping power doing managing a small viral outbreak in suburban Texas?
You're saying it wasn't such a small outbreak?
No. I'm saying it wasn't the hantavirus.
Well,
what was it?
The sugar.
What was it?
When we were young men in the military, your father and I were recruited for a project. They told us it was biological warfare, a virus.
What killed those men?
What killed them, I won't even write about. We have no context for what killed those men, or any appreciation of the scale at which it'll be unleashed in the future.
A plague?
A plague to end all plagues, Agent Mulder. A silent weapon for a quiet war. The systematic release of an indiscriminate organism for which the men who will bring it on still have no cure. They've been working on this for 50 years. While the rest of the world have been fighting gooks and commies, these men have been secretly negotiating a planned Armageddon.
Negotiating with whom?
I think you know. The timetable has been set. It'll happen on a holiday when people are away from their homes. The president will declare a state of emergency, at which time all government, all federal agencies will come under the power of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, the secret government.
Interesting how FEMA is no longer going to be viable next year. It's slowly being phased out. It's now going to go statewide. It's not going to be national. I wonder if there was some truth to that in some way. So we're talking about the Hunter virus. We're talking about FEMA. We're talking about something that isn't the Hunter virus. We're talking about alien disclosure, alien DNA. We're talking about a variety of different subjects, Marshall. And at the right time, showing you that, we're seeing all that from 1998 all pop up simultaneously, and it cannot be a coincidence.
Yeah, there's something. We're definitely being set up for something.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. And that actor, the older guy with Mulder, or whatever his name,
yeah,
that guy, he was,
Martin
man, I saw that.
I forget his name, Martin.
Yeah, he was in so many different science fiction
he's dead
movies.
now.
The guy,
yeah,
was
he was
like,
great. Martin something,
man.
I forget his name. Yeah.
I mean, I saw, I'm like, damn, that guy. But yeah, that brought back memories. But yeah, there is something going on with this whole shit, Brett. And it does, like you mentioned earlier, it does feel like a coronavirus setup type deal.
Right.
It's got vibes of that shit. And I think when you mentioned a minute ago that people are hardened from it. They're jaded
Hardened?
now.
Yeah,
Hardened. They're jaded.
I mean,
they're like,
it's
I'm
beyond
not
jaded.
buying your shit anymore.
You can't tell me anything. That's why I'm skeptical about
right.
all the dumps.
And-
I'm going to be totally skeptical about what I see because I didn't learn anything from anything of the JFK, MLK. And they're saying, well, they still have more stuff, and we haven't released that yet. So what did you release that we saw that you still have more to go? I thought you released it all. Well, whatever you released wasn't good enough. And so we have to wait for some more? Please. I don't even know what to say anymore about it, but I'm fucking disgusted. So I don't have high hopes about what I'm about to see in some way. We're going to need explanations. You're going to need cabinet meetings. I'd like to see a whole host of ufologists and many other people to sit in a cabinet with President Trump and his team to discuss this openly in a forum. Like the Disclosure Project that they had with Dr. Greer in 2001. Remember that one? That was a big, big thing. Is this going to be even bigger than this? We'll see. The Hunter virus hoax. Don't fall for it. Let's listen.
You may have heard about the cruise ship that's been stranded for days near Cape Verde. They had a rare virus outbreak that left 3 people dead and a few more sick. And it's allegedly due to a thing called the hantavirus, which is, listen to this, an airborne virus that comes from rodents' droppings, urine, or saliva, and that also transmits from human to human. What was the COVID story again? It came from a bat and a pangolin and some wet market. And do you remember in January 2020, the people stranded on the Italian ship? A lot of similarities. But wait, in this one, there's a plot twist. One woman left the ship and collapsed at the airport in Johannesburg, probably infecting other people, just like in the movie Contagion. Now, the fake news media is sharing this blogger's video on purpose, trying to spread fear amongst us.
All we want right now is to feel safe.
You can act like a man. What's wrong with you?
These fear campaigns usually starts with the WHO saying there's nothing to worry about, but we're monitoring the situation in case people fall for it. And that's when they crank the story, the fear meter, and the mandates. So let's do ourselves a favor and keep that story right where it belongs.
It's true because we've already left the WHO, as Bobby Kennedy said. that we're no longer going to be entrapped by them in some way. So they can go on and play their fucking games and let the rest of the world shut down. We're not shutting down, okay? They want to try and pull this shit. And there is something to this because they don't want this disclosure of information to come out from the president. And I think they fear this in some way. Question is, how much do they fear of what they know is going to come out or what they don't know? Darlo, thank you for the can. Late to the party. Great to see you. Wood USA, thank you for the 717 gold pills. Need more gold pill love. Support the boy stream. Yes, like, share, and subscribe. Drop us a gold pill. Comments, questions, concerns. You can support the platform. We got a cash app here. You can go to marshallkofi.com/surfdog74. Let's continue on. A lot of it relevant information. This comes from the Liberty Beacon. This one's a good one, too. This is about the PsyOps that are rolling in, all right, that are balling in everywhere. And the cruise ship hantavirus op has grown to include its first crisis actors, as we've seen. Let me blow this up a little bit more so you can see this. All right. So the cruise ship cries about being stuck on the ship with the alleged hantavirus in some way. Look, I was making a joke in some way. Is this a gay cruise? Is it a Tinder cruise? Is this what I mean? Listen, honestly, stop letting gerbils die in your ass. Okay, seriously. But what are you doing? What's going on? This whole thing is a joke. Cheney and the Vampire Slayer puts out. Do you remember the game Plague? I do. The cruise boat in Canary Islands with the hantavirus will be blamed on rodents. Going to make cities right for the next PsyOp, especially those with high rat populations. Aha! That's another good one. Days of Nowhere. Only media hoaxes they need to tell you. It's very real. Here, paid crisis actor puppet Jake Rosemarin. Just like in the COVID hoax, hantavirus hoax, started on a cruise ship, and he's there. They run the same scripts over and over again. Here's another one. The sister, Rachel Roseman, works at Haggerty Consulting. Steve Haggerty, emergency management, disaster recovery, case study, University of Maryland, Baltimore, COVID-19 recovery. Interesting. Look at that. Looky. More to go. Dr. James Ruby reminds us that the only diagnostic tool they have for this alleged disease, drum roll, is a PCR test. Cruise ship hantavirus op has grown into include its first crisis actors. I avoid worry on principle. But when they inexplicably trap passengers on a cruise ship after declaring someone dead from a mystery plague, it gets me. I'm not afraid of bears, snakes, or even the inevitable cataclysmic pole shift. I'm only afraid of the news media. Yeah. In this case, headlines about the first deaths of a zoonotic virus, synchronized, starting slow, expanding this, centered around a symbolic threat, images like COVID, the ominous cruise ship. Yep. People are starting to see it. They're picking this up. Remember, these articles do not look or feel normal. 3 people die in a great circumstance, especially while traveling. This one is a special kind of amplification, the slow-moving horror of a movie special effects. Who remembers the Princess Diamond or the Diamond Princess? As a British registered cruise ship owned and operated by Princess Cruises, she began operation in March 2004 and primarily cruises in Asia. And during the Northern Hemisphere summer in Australia, during the Southern Hemisphere in summer. She is subclass, a Grand Class ship, which is also known as the Gem Class. Diamond Princess and her sister ship, Sapphire Princess, are the oldest or the widest subclass for Grand Class ships, as they have a 37.5 meter beam. There have been 2 notable outbreaks of infectious diseases on the ship, of gastroenteritis caused by norovirus in 2016, and an outbreak of COVID-19 SARS-CoV-2 in 2020. Interesting. And a flirt like a bat towards the window of the reasons it may not be what it seems. They would not dare pull another, would they? Of course they would. Why? Why would they pull another one right now? Because they're losing everything. They know the alien information disclosure is going to come out. There are a lot of people who don't want this information to come out. And that's what I'm saying. This could be done the right way, or this could be really done the wrong way and fuck everything up. All right, because you don't want to make this into a spectacle. You want to be as serious as possible about disclosing this and how you're going to do it. Because if you muck this up, no one will take it seriously. And everybody will think it's a joke. That's the problem. You'll have people fighting that it's not real. That it's kind of like the Epstein. Well, we weren't given enough, like the Epstein files. Or they're going to make that comparison in some way. So you don't want to cross-contaminate it with the Epstein nonsense story, of declassing it in that matter or in like of that, because that's what the blowback's going to be. There's many hantavirus hoax, emergency broadcast, emergency article to counter the emergency narrative. Interesting. A lot of people are picking this up, and this was good. I think it's some way that people need to understand is that the situation never really goes away. These narratives of like COVID and all the fake viruses and all these scams, they're always actively trying to what? Fool you and convince you. But I think COVID has done such a magnificent job of completely, making people harden with their son. If you were able to get through it, not take the jab, and just fucking pissed on everything about it, well, good for you. Like myself, I didn't take it seriously at all. I even mocked it as many times as I can, wearing ripped up T-shirts with ketchup on it, going into supermarkets and freaking people out. I loved every minute of doing that because it was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke to wear gloves, wear this, wear that. It was embarrassing. And here we are now where they poison you by pushing this stuff. And the FDA has now admitted that the COVID jab has killed more than 50,000 children. It's probably killed more people. We don't even know because they're not even telling us about that. When we get a D class of that stuff, that'll be fantastic. I don't know where we're going to get that. Your thoughts, Marshall?
Yeah, it reminds me of the movie. I think it was with Dustin Hoffman, and they were on a ship. I think it was called Virus, actually. Remember Dustin Hoffman? They're on this ship. It was like a work ship type deal, and there was
a ship.
Yeah, it was on a ship. It was on a big boat, and it also you could go back because it's all psychological groomings to a degree. It also reminds me of the movie and the Andromeda Strain.
That was
you probably remember. Yeah. I mean, this is all, to me, it's all psychological grooming.
Not the remake, the 70s classic.
The old one, yeah.
That's when they made it.
They had the mannequins in the yard and all that shit.
Really good.
Oh, that was crazy shit, man.
That was out there. Yep. And how that only two people survived, a baby, an older man, and that storyline was just amazing. Another place.
Everybody should watch that.
Yeah, go watch it. I've gone given actual talks 1 and 2 weeks ago about how the historical trope was used launching the COVID drama. It's 4 minutes long. I'm not gonna play all
the hantavirus outbreak, and I cannot let it go. This is the MV Hondias, an expedition cruise ship owned and operated by Oceanwide Expeditions. And the route went from Argentina through Antarctica and the South Atlantic, with stops in South Georgia and Tristan da Cunha and St. Helena, all before heading towards Cape Verde. And I'm sorry, how is it that there are 147 people on board with 3 people dead, 7 confirmed cases of the hantavirus, and the only video we've all seen from inside the ship is one guy named Jake crying in his cabin? No, I'm sorry. I'm not buying it, okay? Because you're talking to somebody who watches a lot of cruise ship drama on TikTok. In fact, it is one of my favorite TikTok subgenres that exists, okay? I watch it all the time. And if there's one thing that I've learned from those TikTokers, it is that if someone so much as catches a stomach flu on a Carnival cruise, there are 19 TikToks, 4 Facebook Lives, and some woman named Brenda locked in a closet filming herself saying, please help us, like it's the freaking Blair Witch Project. So I decided to investigate. Not a full rabbit hole because I have other investigations that require my attention right now, but what I did find was interesting. So first I went looking for the original Jake video because, like many of you, the first time I saw it was on the CBS TikTok account, which is a company owned by Larry Ellison now, but I digress. I couldn't find the original video anywhere, but luckily CBS did put in the tippy top corner of the video Jake's username on TikTok, so I went to his page to see if I could find it there. No. So I started scrolling through Jake's page and I learned that he is a Boston travel content creator and he's been to like hundreds of countries, although none of his videos have gotten like a super high amount of views, but yet he's got 5.6 million. I just know that's weird. Anyways, he's got sponsorship links, he's got collaborations, he's got a Yahoo email, and if you go over to TikTok Shop, he's hawking a bunch of travel consumerism junk. And I'm scrolling through his posts, and he's got this weird PR statement as one of them. Mind you, he didn't even post the video that he sent to CBS on his own account, remember? So I don't know, it's weird. But then I hit this penguin video from the trip, and it's a stunning video with a high resolution camera. And I mean, look, the sky is insane. It's clearly very beautiful. But just keep in mind what this sky looks like, okay? Because it's gonna come back later. In fact, his photos and videos are so beautiful, it is kind of hard to believe that it's not AI. No, but Michael.Elizabeth08, I'm with you. So I went to Google and searched for the name of the ship, the MV Hondias, filtered the dates to be before the outbreak became public, and went to videos to see if I had missed anything, because this is the exact kind of trip where you would normally see people posting pictures of wildlife or videos of the sunset or rough seas with the yo-ho sound, cabin tours, meals, anything. The only videos are from Jake Rosemarian. This is weird. And then I read about one other passenger who was quoted in BBC and AP coverage named Kazem Hato, also known online as Ibn Hatuta. Sorry if I mispronounced that. This guy. And he sent over footage over WhatsApp to AP News and BBC, and he gave them quotes specifically saying, actually, morale is high. People are watching movies, reading, and drinking hot drinks. 3 people are dead. And then it gets even weirder because he's posting stuff like this on his story. You can pause to read it, but the second paragraph says, this whole situation has been blown out of proportion, partly because of one person panicking on the ship whose video has been circulating on the media. While his reaction is valid, it doesn't represent the situation on board. Everyone else, 148 out of 149, has been calm. The situation is under control, and we just wish those who are sick a speedy recovery. I don't...
See? All it is takes one person, whether they're a crisis actor or not, someone that just can't handle life, that overreacts, flips the whole layout out, sets this page up, does this, whether they did this on purpose or not, to garner attention, to get clicks, and then to make it out in some way. And now when we have a widespread conversation about bringing back at the right moment, the right time, or what I showed you with the X-Files, perfectly timed, masquerading as something else. Who knows how this is? There's no evidence of mice or rats on the ship. So how did they get the hantavirus? Yeah, Gene Hackman died of it, and there was rats and stuff underneath the base, but does anybody believe that? I don't believe that at all. I believe he was murdered. I believe him and his wife were murdered. That's my thing, and that's a take for another day. But that's my thoughts on this, Marshall.
Yeah, the movie I mentioned earlier with Dustin Hoffman's called Outbreak from 1995.
I think I've seen it. I don't remember.
It takes place on a ship, and it's like an Ebola type virus. But it just, all this stuff reminded me of that.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
But the Andromeda strain, man, that was really powerful.
Yeah.
And I think it's all PsyOp shit. And it goes so far back, Brett. You know, I mean, they constantly get your brain to kind of get set up to be mind screwed. And like you mentioned earlier, I don't buy any of it after COVID. I don't buy.
You can't convince me of anything anymore. And I'm going to have a hard time processing when I read all this stuff about aliens and all this stuff and how this is going to be done. I mean, you're going to have to really persuade me in such a way to convince me what you're saying, how you're saying, to back it up with documented stuff. I mean, I hope this is, I hope that this is going to be perfectly laid out. So, it doesn't look like a shit show. And I don't want it to be looking like one of these hearings in Congress. I want the information to come out in an accessible way, in a way that's informative, that will give people an understanding about this stuff. And, I'd like to see in some way, maybe the president should make an address about this in some way to the nation, to let them know and say, hey, look, what about all the people that have been chastised, all the people that were called kooks, conspiracy theorists, wingnuts, we're all dismissed, who are all, Bill Cooper, all these people, all right? Don't they get an apology? What about those people? What about all the people that were dismissed by our government and attacked for that nonsense? Where's their reprieve? Where's their reciprocity? Alleged Jeffrey Epstein suicide note was released by a federal judge today. We told you it was coming. Now, I don't know what this hell this says. It says they investigated me for a month. Would a 5-year-old child write this? Look at how this is written. What kind of fucking handwriting is this? I mean, honestly, my hand shakes a little bit when I write, but my handwriting don't look like anything like this. Something found, nothing. So 15-year-old boy, 15-year-old charges, I don't even know what the fuck that said, assault. And it is a what? A treat to be able to what? Time for this to soothe. Watch me do beret crying, no fun. Who wrote this? I mean, do you believe he wrote this? What kind of shit is this? And this is his suicide letter? I'm not buying it. See, this is what I'm talking about. And this was covered up and hidden until I think it was New York Times or one of them sued to get this released. Why didn't you just release it? Who wrote this? Did you get like a dyslexic kid writing this? Who wrote this? Someone with the shakes? This is the worst writing I've ever seen in my entire life. It is an embarrassment. I don't know anybody believes it. I don't know what your thoughts are, and I don't really care about the suicide letter in some way. I don't believe he committed suicide. to begin with it all. And I'll just leave it at that because I'm done discussing that because I've had enough of the Epstein stuff. Marshall, your thoughts as we part ways? I got to drop.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that letter is bullshit.
I mean, what kind of
it's
crap
delivered script scratch on there.
Yeah.
You can't.
I mean,
make
who
it out.
wrote that? I mean, look how bad that handwriting is. How can you? How is that? That's not incomprehensible. Honestly, it looks like someone wrote it when they were drunk.
It seems deliberate, in my opinion.
I don't buy any of it, but
Yeah,
that's
it's just crap.
Yeah, and this is such a big deal. So this is supposed to convince me he committed suicide. Thank you, Wood USA, for the 317 gold pills. I'm dropping the pills right now. I mean, honestly, tell me something. Tell me in any way that impacts your thought process. Does that letter change your mind that he committed suicide in any way? Does that move the needle? I mean, what I'm trying to say is that does anybody buy this one bit? Yeah, I know. To say goodbye. Like I said, I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, no fun, not worth it. Watch me want to do. But crying, no fun, not worth it. Oh my God. I mean, it's just embarrassing, man. And they expect you to swallow that hook, line, and sinker. Look, he wrote this note. It's so convincing. Yeah, it's so convincing that you can read it and it's legible. It's so comprehensible that a 3-year-old wrote this for him. I mean, honestly, they probably had one of the bailiffs or, one of the security people's kids write it and they give it to him. I mean, what a joke. And what are we supposed to glean from it? Is this something to sell you? I mean, again, another PsyOp of storms that are barreling in. Don't buy it. Don't take the bait. Everything right now is all going to be presented to you in such a manner to convince you of things that you would not normally believe. Again, the exercise some type of futility when it comes to managing your expectations of what you're going to see, what you hope to see, what you think you're not going to see, what you're going to read. Just be cautious about that and don't jump the gun. Don't overthink this of what's going to come out. Read it, comprehend it, process it for a while. There's going to be so much of this stuff. Again, this president of this United States needs to have, I believe, a conversation with the American people once this is dropped. He needs to address this from the Oval Office. He needs to have a media contingent of questions being asked. He needs to parade around ufologists and many other respected people, notable people that were pushed away and attacked in some way. We need to get this in some way done in a proper form. Okay? It just can't be what we saw of JFK, MLK, and whoever else, and RFK. All right? I mean, look, RFK Jr. goes on other shows and says, Sirhan didn't kill my dad. Okay, so if it didn't kill my dad, and he goes, I know who did, and it was the guy behind him. Okay, well, who's that guy? Why didn't we see that in the dump? Okay, and why hasn't that guy been arrested, or is he already dead? The point, why isn't Sirhan out free? You see my point? You see where I'm going with this? Just because 1 + 1 = 2 does not always mean it's going to equal that when we see other stuff. I just prepare yourself, brace yourself, because a lot of the craziness is going to unfurl out, and I don't know how people are going. I think people are going to become unencumbered. They're going to. I think some people are going to lose it. They're really going to lose it in some way. But I think prepare and brace yourself for what is about to befall you. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be ugly. Wait till the fights get ugly on X and any other platforms with social media influencers and stuff. Some of them will just make this one big thing to cover for Epstein. You watch. That's already planted seed and out there already. Marshall, your parting thoughts before we dip out?
No, I mean, just stay strapped in. Don't buy into all this bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to stay focused on what's happening to us, our country, and our landscape, meaning Cuba, the whole our hemisphere here. That's what's important. Those are the important things.
Yeah.
And getting rid of getting the Iranian thing done, which I think is about over.
I think that's important too. And I think a lot of people are not covering it. I think shame on you for not covering, not wanting to talk about it, not explain it better. I think it's a sad thing that, I mean, there are going to be so many people talking about this dump of information of alien disclosure and stuff. And I think it's just, there's going to be a pollution of noise, a pollution and fabrication of noise, and extrapolation and interpretations of noise. It's just going to be a sidebar after sidebar after sidebar discussion. And then we're just going to go through this infighting, picking all the stuff that's out there. And that's great. Okay. What's next? I mean, like I said,
up in it.
I don't want to be around it. I want to see it. I want to read it. I want to talk about it a little bit, but I don't want to get like, oh my God, it's my faith is going away. I think I can't stop losing my Christianity. I mean, honestly, I think the hubris of that makes me sick. We were told by high intelligence people, all right, that prepare, get your congregation, your flock in order.
Yeah, that's weird. That's strange.
Yeah.
That whole deal was strange.
Yeah, where were you when COVID hit? Where were you intelligent people out there, intelligent officers telling the congregation out there while you're closing the churches and all the worshiping places while keeping strip clubs open, keeping alcohol and marijuana dispensaries open? Where were you telling them about COVID? I didn't see any of that. But now, the big bad voodoo daddy is going to be in the house. Well, that's our show for tonight. I will return on Friday. You have a great birthday this weekend, Marshall. We will see you the following week. I will return on Friday, and hope to see you there. Have a great week, great night, and be well, be safe, be smart, and be careful out there. Don't trust everything or anything at all. Not at first glance. Ciao.
All right.